For the first question here, the things that I did first was to identify the total ratio. So simply takes 7 plus 5, you get 12. Okay, and they are looking for numbers of page who was used to review. Okay, so in order to get that, okay, I try to identify the total numbers of pages first. Okay, as average specific pages was given, hence I use total times 7 over 12 equal to 63. 63 divided by 7 over 12, you will get 108 as the total page of a camera magazine. So for you to find review pages, simply takes 108 times 5 over 12, we get the results as 45. So different set of question now. Take 9 plus 5, you will get 14. 56 times 5 over 14, you identify the numbers of page users for a photograph is 20. Question number 3. So you're trying to find whether to purchase the magazine monthly or get an annual subscription. So simply takes 4.9 times 12, you get the total cost for an entire year. Okay, so find their difference by taking 48.8 minus 63.7 divided by 63.7 multiplied by 100. So we actually get negative results. However, do take note that the negative here actually represent the percentage of discount. Okay, so remove the negative and fill up the answer in 3 significant format as 23.4%. In section B, okay, so the first sentence here actually play a huge role, okay, because there's a keyword here, remaining pages. So the 25% was used for selling second-hand car, and the remaining will actually be 75%. And out of this 75%, 62.5 was being used to represent features, and the remaining of 37.5% is actually being used to review. Okay, and find the total numbers of page of the magazine. Okay, so 75% times 37.5% equals to 28.125%. And this 28.125% is actually 36 pages. Okay, so total times 28.125%, you will get 36. 36 divided by 8, the total will actually be 128. In question 2, part A, as mentioned by the question, we're looking for distance of AC using sine rule. For you to do that, we'll be focusing on the triangle at the bottom right hand side. Okay, so sine ACD over AD equals to sine ADC over AC. Run the manual calculation and round it to 1 decimal place. You get the results as 119.9. In section B, using cosine rule, you'll be able to identify BC's distance now because you already got the AB and AC sides value as well as the angle in between these two sides. Okay, fill up the blank according to the alphabet information I labeled down. Okay, then your side length after correcting to 3 significant figures will get you 109 meters. In section 5, calculate the area of triangle ACD. Okay, so I'm using half AB sine C because this is a irregular triangle. Okay, fill out the blank with the information. You will get 1970 meter square as the final results. Okay, and this particular part of the field was being sold. Okay, calculate the cost of the field. So from the previous part C, you already identified the area. So 1970 times 4.5. Then for the other part, you need to run your manual calculation again for the area. Okay, so half AB sine C multiplied by 4.5. So after correcting your answer into 3 significant figures, you will actually get 22,300 as your final results. Over at question 3, okay, write down in terms of x the length and the width of the box. So since all the corner, okay, is actually a square, all of its sides will be x. So for the length, it will be 9 minus 2x, and for the width, it will be 7 minus 2x. So to calculate the volume, simply takes 9 minus 2x, which is the length, multiplied by the width of 7 minus 2x, and the height of this box is actually x. So multiplying everything together, you'll be able to prove the answer as 4x cubed minus 32x squared plus 63x. So section C, simply substitute the 0.5 and 2.5 into the formula. You will get 24 and 20 as the respective answer. Okay, so you plot down the points on the particular graph at the next page. Okay, it should roughly look something like this over here. So write down as an inequalities the possible value of x. So the line is a solid line. So from 30 cm cube, we trace it back. The intersection point to the graph is actually 0.73 and 2. Since the question mentioned about inequalities, so you must label as x is less than equals to 2, more than equals to 0.73. Okay, do take note that your answer maybe varies from mine. Okay, however, there's an acceptable range. As long as your graph is not out of the shape, you should be able to get your results. Okay, so find the maximum volume of this box. Okay, everyone's answer will be slightly different. What they're trying to do here is actually to identify your highest point of your graph. So my highest point on the graph is actually 36.25. Okay, and write down the value which gives the maximum volume. So from my highest point of 36.25, I trace it back. It is actually represented by x of 1.3. Section 4. Okay, so the keyword here is isosceles triangle. So you need to identify the characteristics of this triangle here. So basically two sides will have the same angle value. Okay, So I listed down scenario 1 and scenario 2, okay, filling up the 48 degree. So the possible outcome will actually be 66 and 66, whereby the other one, the repeating side is 48 with another 84. So question B is assessing you on the interior angle formula, which goes by n minus 2 times 180. So pentagon actually has 5 sides, 5 minus 2 times 180, you get 540. Question C. What I did here was to treat it, instead of treating it as a separate polygon, I just straight up calculate there's actually 7 circles. So circles has a value of 360. So I took 360 times 7 side. Okay, then I uses the interior angle formula. Okay, so 7 minus 2 times 180. The difference here will get you the total sum, which is 900, which is 1620. In section D, show that 7x plus 4y equals to 390. So do take note that this is a trapezium, or you can treat it as a quadrilateral. The total angle of every side added up will be 360. So you run the manual calculation, you shouldn't have any issue to identify 7x plus 4y equals to 390. For section 2, okay, do take note that the angle CBA plus angle BAD equals to 180. Okay, so this is actually one of the characteristics of a trapezium. So 3y minus 20 plus 2x plus 5 equals to 180. You run the manual calculation, you should get the answer as 2x plus 3y equals to 195. By doing so, you will have a 2 equation. Then you can run this simultaneous equation to identify the answer. So the full details of the working has been attached. Shouldn't having any issue to identify the answer. Part 4, you're required to run the manual calculation. So attached is the calculation that I did, and the respective value of this trapezium will be 115, 115, 65, and 65. Question 5. Okay, to calculate the mean, simply identify the midpoint from the interval first. So the respective midpoints actually 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, 4, 6, and 8.5. Multiply it with its respective numbers of students, divide by the total students. So the total students is always given you at the first sentence of the question, which is 80. So 61 over 16, which convert into 3.81 hours. Okay, so as usual, what I did here at the frequency density diagram is to check whether there's scale factor involvement or not. So you're required to run manual calculation on the parts they gave to you. So I took 15 divided by 1, the results will be 15, which proved that there's no scale factor involvement. So you can run the calculation of the following group of between 3 to 5, it will be 19 divided by 2, it's 9.5. For the next group, 5 to 7, you take 13 divided by 2, you will get 6.5. And for the last one, 12 divided by 3 equals to 4. So I drew down the histogram. Section B, okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, just filling up the tree diagram. So 1 minus 3 over 5 will get you 2 over 5 as does not use the internet. Okay, so repeat the same for the rest. You should get 1 over 4, 3 over 4 and 1 over 4 for the next 3 column. So calculate the probability that on one day at least 2 students uses the internet. So what I did here was to take the total probability of 1 minus the chances of them both not using the internet. So I took 2 over 5 times 1 over 4 and take 1 minus the results. So your final answer, 9 over 10. Calculate the probability that Chamida uses the internet on 3 consecutive days. So Chamida is 3 over 5, okay, times 3 over 5 times 3 over 5, you will get 27 over 125 as your final results. Question 6, okay, slightly tricky. So I actually listed it down, okay, over at section A on what I did to calculate the answer. Okay, I split it into 2 semicircles and I minus off the small part that was being removed. Okay, so half times pi times r square will be used here. However, the r square varies. Okay, the first r square here is actually 17.5 divided by 2. The next one is 24 divided by 2, and the last one here that we are minusing off will be 6.5 divided by 2. After all the calculation, you should get 105 pi, which translates into 330 after rounding it to 3 significant figures. Okay, calculate the external surface area will be the keyword here. Okay, so as mentioned, this is an open container, hence only one of the water drop shape will be included at the surface area calculation. So for the next part, for us to identify the curved water shapes surface area, curved water shape surface area, we are required to use 2 pi r, which is the circumference calculation, multiplied by the height that was given, which is 35. So repeat the same for the changes in radius. Okay, do take note that for semicircle, we are required to multiply 1 over 2 into the formula. So after the calculation, you actually get 945 pi, which translates into 2970 cm squared. At section C, okay, things to take note is that the 330 that we gotten earlier, multiplied by 35, you actually get 11,550 cm cubed. To convert this into liters, simply divide it by 1000. You should get 11.55 or 11.6 after converting it to 3 significant figures. In section D, the key assessment of this question is we are using mathematically similar concept for section D number 1, okay, where we compare the height and the radius. So h over r equals to 40 over 20. You run the manual calculation and shift it to the other side for the h value. You will get your r as the subject equals to h over 2, which proves the requirement of the question. So as given, the formula is 1 over 3 pi r square h, and the r square here you're required to substitute the h over 2 into the position. Okay, so you actually get H value as 35.3 after following all the steps that was being shown there. For the r square there, I actually substituted the 2h over 4. Okay, however, if you were to substitute h over 2 into it, you will still get the same results. At question 7, find the gradient of line PQ. So I labeled the coordinates given as x1, y1 and x2, y2. Substitute it into the formula of gradient. You will get your results as 3 over 2. And for you to find the equation of line PQ, okay, so we are having y equals to 3 over 2x plus c here. Substitute any of the coordinates that you wish to use. Okay, so for my case, I selected 8, 14. After the calculation, I get my c as 2. So the entire equation will goes by y equals to 3 over 2x plus 2. So write PQ as a column vector. Okay, so from P shift to Q, okay, it will be moving to the right hand side by 12 column, and from -4 to reach to 14, it will actually be going up by 18 steps. Hence it is 12 over 18. And to calculate the magnitude, simply treat this as a right angle triangle, and the 12 and 18 will be the base and height. So using Pythagoras theorem, you should be able to identify the magnitude as 6 square root 13, which translates into 21.6. Over at section B, okay, there's only one thing that I fill up for the graph, which is the value of BT. So as mentioned, BT equals to 3 over 2 of OA. Okay, so 3 over 2 times 4A equals to 6. So BT's value is actually 6A. After having that, let's solve the equation given. So identify A to B. A to B actually go through the route of AO plus OB. Okay, as we are only given OA's value, to transform it into AO, simply multiply a negative into it. So we get negative 4A plus 3B, then we arrange into 3B minus 4A. For you to identify AR, okay, we'll be using AO plus OR here. As given, OR's value is actually 1 over 5 bracket. OR's value is actually 1 over 5 bracket 12A plus 6B. Okay, run the calculation, you should get 6 over 5B minus 8 over 5A. So I further rearrange it into 1 over 5 bracket 6B minus 8A. And for you to identify OT's value, we'll be going through OB plus BT, which is 3B plus 6A. So complete the statement. The points O, R and T are straight line because OR and OT is actually parallel. Reason being attached is the supporting reason. So OT's value is actually 6A plus 3B, and OR is actually 2 over 5 of 6A plus 3B. Okay, so which then convert that OR equals to 2 over 5 of OT. Hence it proves it is parallel. Question number 3, the keyword here is similar. Okay, so 6A over 4A. Okay, remember to square it. then equals to 9 over 2. So this one here, I'm using the scale factor, mathematically similar concept. So if you're unfamiliar with this particular part, okay, you can actually refer to the video from my revision guide. That will definitely help you out on this question, and you can revisit this question at any time after you watch the video. Question 8a. Okay, make A the subject. Okay, I list down the full details over there. You can just refer to my working and get it sorted out. Okay, so for V, keyword here, nearest integer. So 1 divided by 2 is plus minus 5. So to get the upper bound of V speed, everything must be added by 0.5 before they run the calculation. So after adding 0.5 into every variables, your final results will be 36.75. Section C number 1, find the deceleration. So I'm using the coordinates of 20, 16 and 25, 0. Run the gradient calculation. You actually get the results as negative 3.2. The negative here represent the deceleration. So your final answer that you should write down will be 3.2. Section 2, calculate the average speed of the car between two sets of traffic light. Okay, so first identify the total distance. Okay, by using the trapezium formula, the base is actually 25, the top is actually 10. Add these two up, divide by 2, multiply by 16, you will get 280 meters. So step 2, for the average speed, simply takes total distance over total time. The total distance is 280 meters and the total time is 25 seconds. So your final results, 11.2 meters per second. Question 18. Okay, so this is sequences question. Okay. So for the numbers of dot, this is a arithmetic sequence with a common difference of positive 3. So for your 4th and 5th term, simply adds 3 to 12, you will get 15. 15 plus 3, you will get 18. So the 0 term here is by taking 6 minus by 3, you will get 3. So your final n terms equation will actually be 3 plus 3n. The 3 at the front is the 0 term, and the 1 which pair with n is actually the common difference. So for the numbers of square, okay, this one, it was given that the n terms equation is 1 over 2 n bracket and minus 1. So substitute 4 into n's position, you will get your results as 6. When you substitute 5, you get your results as 10. So for you to identify the numbers of triangle, so this one is actually a geometric sequence. So I list down the 2 rows of its difference, and since the second row is the same, I'll be using the geometric sequence formula, whereby 2a equals to the square value 2, a equals to 1 after the calculation, 3a plus b equals to the triangle value of 5, b equals to 2 after the calculation, and a plus b plus c equals to the top row's value, which is 4. So c equals to 4 minus 3 equals to 1. Substitute a, b, c's value into the equation, you will get n squared plus 2n plus 1, which translates into the answer I've written down, n plus 1 bracket square. So on which diagram has 360 lines? So we'll be using n 3 over 2 n plus 1 times n plus 2 equals to 360. You run the calculation, you actually get n equals to 14 or n equals to negative 17. So things to take note here is your answer cannot be negative as there's no negative sequence. So your final results will be 14. At section C, when your n equals to 1, final results will be 9. So do take note that you're required to play around with the value given from the table on numbers of lines. When your n is 1, your results will turn out to be 9 lines. So P plus Q equals to 8, 1 over 2. This one will be your equation 1. As when your n is 2, the total numbers of lines will actually increase from 9 plus 18 and become 27. So this time around, when your n was being replaced with 2, your results will turn out to be 27. So your final equation, 4p plus 2q equals to 23. Okay, substitute 3 into 2. Run the calculation, your p's results will be 3. So when your p is 3, q equals to 8, 1 over 2 minus 3 as 5.5. Question 20. Okay, x squared minus 3x. Okay, I extracted x from it. You will have a balance of x minus 3. Whereby for the denominator, I'm using a squared minus b squared formula. So it will turn out x plus 3, x minus 3. So x minus 3 is repeating here, so get rid of it. Your final results, 8 over x plus 3. Whereby for part B, what I did was to change their denominator into the same. So for the first fraction there, the denominator actually lacked a x plus 1. So you multiply a x plus 1 to the denominator and repeat the same for the numerator. So you get 15 bracket x plus 1. So for the second fraction, it lacks a x variables. So 15 bracket x plus 1 minus 20 times x over x bracket x plus 1 equals to 2. So you run the manual calculation, you will get your x possible results as negative 5 and 3 over 2. So this is pretty much it for this particular paper. Okay, I hope you are able to understand and do share it to your friends that is struggling. I wish you all the best for your upcoming examination. Thank you.